Hey, John. Same time as indoor Grand Prix. What are your thoughts on Bondarenko sessions? Yeah, Bondarenko sessions. Um, yeah, I would not advise trying to do those types of workouts unless you've built a very strong aerobic base because, Bondarenko sessions for a lot of the athletes that have never heard of that is, you're doing basically 2K sets back to back and where you're running, at very fast paces, but very short recovery uh, paces in between each one of those repetitions. So it might be like doing a 400 meter at like 5K pace and then going to your recovery 400 meter at marathon pace, then running a 300 at 1500 meter pace, a recovery 300 at marathon pace, you're running a 200 at 800 meter pace. So it's like you're not giving yourself much recovery in terms of you're doing a very fast interval, and then normally where we would jog or run very easy for in between each one of our hard reps, you're not really running easy in between each one of those reps. So yeah, Bondarenko sessions definitely will help you improve your overall anaerobic engine for sure, and definitely get your race ready. But I would advise first spending several weeks doing, easy aerobic mileage, doing the strides 2 to 3 times a week. Really working on your leg turnover, but also making sure that first you're being very patient in your build up before you jump into doing those types of workouts. Definitely, it's great for any type of athlete, whether it's the athlete's training for an 800 meter or an athlete training for the marathon. It's just a matter of being very, very patient with yourself in terms of your overall fitness, jumping into those types of uh, Bondarenko sessions, because again, you're not the recovery really. You're still running at very fast paces, so you're just doing repeat sets of 2K per set, but it's back to back, no rest. So you know you got to be patient just in terms of not only the volume. So it might be doing 800-meter reps back to back rather than 2,000-meter reps back to back. So that's my answer in terms of what do I think of Bondarenko sessions. I think definitely a great workout, absolutely essential workout if you really want to jump in terms of your aerobic and anaerobic fitness for sure. So yeah, great question, John. I hope you guys, that a few of you that are on here, have had a great week of training. I know probably a lot of you got caught up with the what was going on with the U.S. Olympic trials. That was great to see, especially on the women's side. The lady that won ran 222, and even the woman that was third ran 225. I think her PR was um, no, the lady that finished fourth, her PR was 229. She ran 225. She's not sponsored. She's working a full time job. Those types of stories really fire me up too, because when you're training full time, and I only had one opportunity in my entire career thus far, where aside from right now, but when I was working full time, where I could train full time, and when you're balancing working a full time job, you're going to school, you have children, you have other responsibilities, to run that quick impresses me. I thought it was great to see some women out there doing really phenomenal performances on the day. Obviously, the men ran great too. I think what was his name, Zach Panning, runs for the Hansons. That was another great, inspiring story to see that guy really pushing the pace for that long. So, hey, Calm J, calf strain soleus muscle uh, af- up 2 weeks after marathon. Other than rest, what do you recommend? Yeah, if it's I've had plenty of calf strain soleus muscle issues over the years. So some of the things I would highly recommend you looking into is do dry needling, or dry needling is without a doubt, aside from rest, is the number one remedy that I found that gets rid of that calf strain the quickest. It's a lot like uh, I always forget the name of the term. But if you Google dry needling, it's basically they go in, they stick a needle in the sore area of your muscle, and it loosens up the tightness. And obviously, aside from that, very, very light massage. But in that case, if it's really bad, I wouldn't even massage that. Just make sure you're icing ibuprofen to steer clear of, to try to eliminate some of the pain that you're dealing with. Um, Calf sleeves as well. If you go to, um, let me make sure I do not close this live stream. Skins compression technology. I think it's skin. Oh, a second. I'll drag it down here. Check out this website for your calf sleeves. Wear those as well. Hey Isaac, hope you're doing well, man. Do you have any tips to help with overpronation? Been doing some foot strength exercises and using a band, but still suffering with it. Yeah, I know. I mean, some athletes are overpronators, some are supinators. They'll run inward, like I run inward a little bit. Some run outward, or no, I take that back. Some run out, like I run outward. So I think that's supination and overpronation. But it's tough to answer that type of question. A lot of it's biomechanics. My best recommendation. A lot of times you can just go to running stores and they'll actually watch your running gait and see how you're running. Sometimes it's the shoes. Get some expert opinion from athletes that are in the running stores as well, and seeing if it's just a specific type of shoe that you may need to change up your shoe with a little bit more support. Doing that will help as well. But a lot of times it's just it's a biomechanic issue, and it'll take time and patience. But yeah, recommendation, definitely check with the running stores and have them watch you how you're running on the treadmill, and try to pick a different type of shoe. Sometimes that can be helpful for you. So I hope that's gives you at least some idea, something to go off there, Isaac. Hey, ComJ, I appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you guys don't have to do that, but I definitely appreciate that. Super Trebo, hey, Run Dream. Just had my longest run training ever. Did 22 miles at an easier 9-minute mile pace. My question, congrats on the 22 miler. I mean, just to go out and do 22 miles, regardless of the pace you're running at, that's impressive. I would have a hard time going out and doing 22 miles right now, really at any pace. I could go out and do it, but doing it 9-minute mile pace, solid work, man. Awesome job. I'm 4 weeks out. Do you think I need to do another 20 miler before the marathon, or just no? I would do between 16 and 18. Yeah, 17, 18. I wouldn't do another 20 miler. I think you're going to get a real huge physiological boost from that 22 miler, and doing that 4 weeks out is solid. That's about where you want to be. But I think your next long run should be a 17 miler, then 15, then about 11, then about 6, and then your marathon. However, going into that, your goal marathon. But yeah, I would do 17 miler. I wouldn't do another long 20 miler. Hey, Faith, tips for helping hip flexor tightness on one side only. Have had issues for years. Went to physical therapy. Stretching is the only thing that seems to help, but it's still an issue. Yeah. Hip flexor tightness is definitely, it's one of those elements. It sticks around for a while. I just think you just continue to monitor that. Physical therapist, I'm not a physical therapist. I do have some background with anatomy and physiology and kinesiology, so I do understand some of the things. But a lot of things in regards to hip flexors, just light stretching and be very cognizant of how you're feeling in training. Don't continue to try to run and push through that if you're feeling that and it's feeling like it's a chronic issue in your training. Continue to ice warming prior to going out to run, and then icing when you get back. A mixture of both warming as well as icing definitely helps. But again, complete rest is obviously the best thing, but it's also the hardest because you want to get out and continue to train. But yeah, that's kind of the best I can give you on that, Faith. I just, I know it'll heal. I do know for certain it will heal up, but it's just a matter of, when But I think if you're doing all the other things right, if you have access to ultrasound, that's awesome. Not a lot of athletes have that, but you can get those ultrasound machines on Amazon, and getting down there into the scar tissue and improves that. That'll help improve the healing process as well. But a lot of that ultrasound, um, dry needling, and that can help as well. But again, that's something you bring up with your physical therapist and see what he or she thinks about that. Um, that can help. Obviously, if it's painful, ibuprofen and aspirin, trying to get taking that can somewhat alleviate that. But a mixture of warmth and icing, both together, can help as well. So hope that's helpful, Faith. My pleasure, Isaac. Oh, that's awesome, Comj. That's awesome. We got 317 at age 53. Hey, my pleasure. That's awesome to hear that you ran that fast at 53. There are athletes that are 23 trying to run a 317. So respect to you. That is, that you went out there and did that. I appreciate you acknowledging me, but you're the one that went out and put in the hard work. That's impressive. 317 at 53 years young. That's impressive. I mean, I'm 47, so I mean, a 317 would be tough even right now. That's a great time. So where did you? Okay, you ran it at Houston. Okay, nice. Yeah, in Houston, even though it's super flat, that's a concrete course. So it's not pavement. That's mainly concrete all down there in Houston. But great race, great location too. I lived in San Antonio for a few years and spent some time down training in Katy and Houston. Katy is just outside of Houston, but it's real flat. Great place to race for sure. So yeah, awesome, man. That's congratulations. 317. Hagos, hey, hello to you. I have LA coming up in March 19th. Whew, and then Boston, April 17th. My goal is to PR at 255. I did sub 3 at Sim. Congratulations. So what pace should I be dialing in LA for Boston? Well, I mean, I think that, in my opinion, you did okay. I did sub 3 at Sim. Yeah, my opinion of Sim, I mean, it'll prepare you well, considering LA is rolling. It's not an easy course either. Neither is Sim, in my opinion. I think Sim, it does have a net downhill course. If you look at the profile, it's sort of like Boston, but um, Sim is not, in my opinion, a fast course, and that's where I ran my PR. I always thought I would have ran it at Berlin or Chicago or somewhere like that. But I think in your case, what pace should I be doing in LA for Boston? Your time frame between those two races is extremely tight, man. But um, I think going after your goal is 255. I would go after. Let's see, you ran Sim in December. Okay, I would use if it was. Hmm, that's tough because you're going right back to back. I would use LA as more of like a. Yeah, it's. I think 255 for sure is not out of your reach. If you can run a sub 3, you ran sub 3 at Sim. What was your exact time at Sim? Was it like a 259, 257? Because I think 255 is if done right. I think doing a 10-day taper going into LA is key. 4 days out from that marathon, I would do a 3-mile run at goal marathon race pace, and then the last 3 days going into LA, just 2 to 3 mile jogs or off, because there's not really a lot more you can do. But I would aim for 255. I think I mean, depending on what time you ran at Sim. If you ran like 259.56, 255 is still a significant drop, but it's still doable for sure. Um, Back to back like that. I mean, I know it's because you qualify for Boston, obviously, and you want to compete there. So, but I think going for the 255 is in LA uh, is solid. Looking at LA and looking at Boston, between the two, if I would pick which one I would go for the 255 at, I would go for the 255 at Boston rather than LA. So maybe March, April. Let's see, you basically got 4 weeks, about 4 weeks. I would use that. I would use the LA marathon as a long run, but not an all out effort. So in LA, I would aim for maybe, I would use LA as 6:52 pace. Just aim for 3 hour marathon pace. Don't try to go into LA and try to run an all out PR. Run 3 hour marathon pace at LA and then aim to run 2:55 at Boston. I did that one time. This a similar situation like this. This was in which was I ran 2:26 at the 2011 Monumental Indianapolis Marathon, my second fastest marathon, and tried because I had to jump in a porta john. I lost about, I don't know, several minutes in that race. I was with the leaders at mile 17, ended up finishing fifth in 2:26, lost a ton of time, but because of that, I 4 weeks later tried again to run 2:19 flat at Sim, which was about the same time frame, and I ran 2:32. This was back in, yeah, it was 2011. And so I did that one time in my career, that short amount of time period, just basically because it was just a one-time deal, but I only had one other shot. So you can still do it, but that's what I would do. Aim for a 3 hour pace at LA. Use that as your last hard, very long run, and then really focus on those last 3 weeks going into Boston and aim for the sub 2:55 at Boston. That's what I would do. Oh man, I gotta catch up to the comments here. Danny, hey man, hey Nathan, what key specific workouts would you recommend if racing a 5K PB attempt in 4 weeks time? Appreciate it. Yeah, 5K, um, 3 to 5 1600-meter reps, 16 400s, repeat. Obviously, training down at doing repeat 300s, 400s. Hill repetitions, 50 to 100-meter hill reps every other week going into, so I guess the next 2 weeks of those 4 weeks, doing some really hard 5K, or not 5K, repeat 50-meter to 100-meter hills. So really, you're just really ramping up, working on your form, working on very fast, aggressive running. Those types of workouts will definitely prep you for the 5K. Don't try. I would hold if when you go to run that 5K PB, wait till you get to the first mile before you make a move. Okay. Don't get out too aggressive and go into oxygen debt. Just try to make it a 2.1 mile race. So wait until you get to the first mile, then you start racing. That's one of the best recommendations I received when I was in high school. I ran a PR when I was in high school, 15:48 on the roads, because of that advice. My coach at the time told me, Nate, wait till you get to the first mile, then make your move. Last 2.1 miles, make it an all-out effort, and that's pretty much what I did. I don't know what I ran for the last 2 miles, but I held back, I got out aggressive, and really ran as hard as I possibly could that last 2 miles. So that's my advice. But some of those workouts, key workouts, just repeat 400s, repeat 8s, really working on your leg speed, working on your form. Stay controlled in that race. Don't try to win the race in the first mile. Everybody else is going to take off, especially in a race that short. So, and good luck to you. I hope you run a great time and get that PB. Yeah, my pleasure, Faith. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Hey, Berto, is it possible to run a sub-3 marathon peaking at 60, 70 miles with just easy and zone 3 work? I've seen other athletes do it. So I'm not saying that it's definitely, and that amount of volume, 60 to 70 miles a week, is going to build so much strength. And some athletes do much better with just endurance work rather than doing any forms of speed work. And then I've seen other athletes. I mean, I'm an example of it. I had to do speed work. I did run in 2007. I ran 51:29 at the Cherry Blossom 10 miler off of just mileage, and I was doing about, at the time, between around that 60 to 80 miles a week. And I just jumped in that race based off of volume and ran that time. So, but I ran 50:54 en route to 107:06 half marathon off of doing a lot more speed. So yeah, you still can run sub 3 hours for that. And other athletes have done it. So can you. Hey, Coach Nate, how often to attempt PR for 5K? You think every other month is okay? You're always my favorite coach. I appreciate it. Thanks for that. The good thing with the 5K, because it's so short, you can do time trials, every other month, or every month, just about. And that's what's great about these shorter races, 5K to 10K races versus, you're running half marathons or marathons, which that's going to take so much more out of you and take a lot more time. So yeah, it's definitely, you can do those types of time trials and see if you can get a new PR every other month is a smart move. Yeah, definitely. Jonathan, Faith Calhoun on the hip flexor. One thing I'm doing now is what I call band kicks. Yeah, it's stretchy. Yes, Jonathan, spot on there. I've looped around my foot going under a door. Tight. Yeah, good advice from Jonathan there. Yeah, absolutely. Super trade. Oh, thank you, Run Dream. Maybe I just do a 17 with a faster marathon pace mixed in at end. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to run faster 18 miler next week. It would be 3 weeks out next week. 3 weeks out, 18 miles. Yeah, I still think that's okay. 3 weeks out, 18 miles. If you're not doing don't run the entire 18 miler at that hard effort, but maybe because it's 18 miles, I would do. I don't know what particular time you're going for, but maybe run every fourth mile of that 18 miler at like your 5K race pace. So 4, 8, 12, and 16 miles, do an 18 miler, but run every fourth mile at like 5K race pace. Extremely tough, very fast, and then settle back into relaxed pace. Then you hit the fourth mile, bam, right back into it. I would do that and not just make it, rather than going, full 18 miles very, very hard, sprinkle in some harder efforts. Um, and because you're 3 weeks out, 18 miles is still okay, but just not going super fast the entire way. Yeah, definitely good luck. Okay, you're going for Tyler. I'm going for sub 3 on your plan. Oh, good deal, Tyler. Yeah, I hope everything goes well with your build up. I know it's the training philosophy that I have and what I do with the training plans and the running courses, and obviously with the athletes that I coach. It's a different style of training, and especially with this very paced long run tactic, it's definitely tough to get used to, and you have to first build that mileage first before you can jump into doing those types of workouts. There's nothing fun about those things, man. Once you get out there, once you get consistent with your volume, consistent with your training, and your body starts to adapt, and you start to really get great anaerobic shape. Um, yeah, without a doubt, that long run is the hardest workout, without a doubt, that I've done over the years. That not track sessions or tempo runs or anything. It was that long run. So yeah, you're going to get some results for that. Just make sure you're paying attention to your recovery and hydrating well before, during, and after your workouts. Really doing all the other fundamentals that go into running great times. So you're going to do fine. Hey, Stuart, if you did one threshold session a week, Saturday, 3 to 5 miles long, would you expect it to take before you'd start to notice a difference? Well, when you're doing threshold session trainings, I mean, you'll start to see a difference. You'll start to see adaptation occur around 3 weeks after you do that workout. So if you're doing that on a weekly basis, 3 to 5 mile threshold runs every week, you're going to start to see significant benefits from that workout 3 weeks, because it does take about 3 weeks to a month to adapt to that particular intensity that you're throwing at yourself. So that's what, just keep that in mind. Yeah, you're going to start seeing benefits immediately. Obviously, 48 hours after a hard workout, the body super compensates. It adapts. It gets much, much weaker after the hard workouts we do, but it's that 48 hours. Your body dips down, you're really weak, and then you bounce back up. But yeah, so you're still going to get a benefit. You'll still get a physiological boost from that workout that you did, but you'll start really adapting to it 3 weeks out. 3 weeks from today, if you were doing it, or Saturday, if you did it yesterday, 3 to 5 miles, let's say at like 6:30 mile pace. 3 weeks from now, 6:30 mile pace is not going to feel as intense anymore. You're going to start thinking, okay, maybe 6:10, 6:05 pace. Now I'll do my threshold at that pace. do that for about 3 weeks. So those 3 week microcycles, and where you're really stressing the energy systems and adapting to it. So hope that's helpful. Turn down, yeah, Jonathan. Then I slowly turn down, then hits the hip flexors, but also gluteus muscles, including medius. Yeah, great advice there, Jonathan. Yeah. Hey, Julian, any tips for getting rid of plantar fasciitis? There's no pain where I run. Okay, that's good. There's no pain when I run, but can be painful other times. Thanks. I really appreciate your videos and live QA sessions are really helpful. And my pleasure. Um, I've had plantar fasciitis myself, and so I've experienced that. I understand what you're dealing with. Um, you can get, it's called a Strasbourg sock. Um, let me see if I can find that on Amazon. I'll send the link to you. Strasbourg sock. Yeah, check out this link, or just you can check out different models that they have. Oh, no, it's not going to let me. But yeah, it's called a Strasbourg sock. And what the Strasbourg sock does is it pushes back. Strasbourg sock, something like that. It pushes back the plantar tendon. It's not very comfortable to wear, but it does take the tension off of the plantar fasciitis. Obviously, the icing. It's tough because you're not. I've had the same thing where I could go out and run, but I didn't really feel as much pain when I was running, but I felt the pain and tightness when I got back from the runs. So yeah, as far as plantar fasciitis, if you have access to a pool, I always talk about pool running, where you can get in the deep end of the pool and do fartlek runs or long runs in the deep end of the pool with a flotation device on or not. And that takes the impact off of, there's no impact on the pool. So you can do that as well. But plantar fasciitis, outside of, if you have access to an ultrasound machine, getting down there and getting in the scar tissue and having that, even light massage sometimes hurts, but icing, warm, if you're running, warm that area underneath your foot, put a heating pad underneath your foot prior to the start of your run, and then icing when you get back. We talk about too, taking styrofoam cups, filling them with water, and putting them in your freezer. They'll freeze, and you can just peel off the side of the styrofoam cup and use that as a massage for any type of ailment that you're dealing with. But yeah, the tough thing about plantar fasciitis is it does take a while to heal up. It will heal. It will heal. There's days where you're going to think it will never go away, but it definitely will go away. Just continue to monitor how you're feeling. Don't continue to run on it. If it gets worse, it gets tight. But that Strasbourg sock, definitely look into that. That'll help. You can wear that when you're sleeping. But again, it is uncomfortable because it's hard to move around with that thing. But you can wear it like when you're watching TV or just relaxing. And again, it pushes the foot back, the plantar tendon back, and keeps your toes pushed back. And again, it takes that tension off of the pain. It alleviates it a little bit. Hey, Run Mike. Hey, Run. Did you enjoy watching the trials? Any thoughts on how it went down? Yeah, I was talking about that earlier when, a lot of folks weren't on yet. But yeah, I thought it was impressive to see how both men and women ran. I like the fact that the top female that ran the 222 and the lady that was third in 225. Those two athletes, in respect to Emily Sisson, who ran second 222. Awesome athletes, phenomenal times on both the men and women's side. But it was great to see those stories that these women, even the lady that finished fourth, her PR was 229 prior to the trials. She ran a 225. She doesn't have a sponsor. She's working full time. Those types of stories inspire me because, the majority of my career, I only had one time in my career where, aside from now, because I'm retired out of the military, where I can really train, do whatever I want right now. But when I was working full time for about 20 plus years, working full time, going to school full time, when you have all those extra responsibilities and extra stresses on you, and to be able to do that without a sponsor, that is impressive. And the majority of my career, that's how I've trained. I did have the time when I was with the Army World Class Athlete Program where I basically had 1 year to train full time, where I had no other stresses. And because of that, I ran 219. but I actually ran 219 after that time period. So I was working full time when I ran 219. So it was great to see that. I thought was his name Panning, Zach Panning. I thought if he would have, he was running to win. He was not holding back. I think if Panning would have held back a little bit, he would have made the team. There's no doubt. I think that the two, props to Leonard Career. He Army WCAP, and the guy that was fourth. He's also, I can't think of his name offhand, but he's also former WCAP. I think he may be still. No, I know he's out of the WCAP program now, but Leonard is still there. Those guys I never got the chance to train with because I was there years before those guys, but it was great to see that Leonard got on the team, considering that he finished fourth last time. And I know it's kind of a toss-up based on the times. I think now his 209, I think he ran 209.57 for fourth. He's got to be at a certain ranking in the world rankings to make the team. But the fact he finished top three, even if like he mentioned, even if he doesn't make it, the fact that he finished top three was awesome. So yeah, it was a great day. I think that they all ran phenomenal times considering those temperatures. Yeah. Let's see. Try to catch up here. Hey, Sean, in training for a 310 marathon in April, Garmin predictor showing 305. Ideally, would love to be in sub 3 shape. Is there any type of workout that would give me a good indication that sub 3 is realistic? Yeah, I think if you can get that, even if you could do like a half marathon time trial, I know. Let's see, it's in April. Yeah, Garmin is, if it's showing 305, that's again, that's give or take a little bit. Garmin's can obviously be way off, but sometimes they can be just about right. Let me see something. I want to check something in regards to your sub 3 effort here. I think getting that, if you can do a half marathon prior to the marathon in around 126, 127 range, between 126 and 127, because that's equivalent to a 3 hour. I think it's 120, around 126.20 is equivalent to a sub 3 hour marathon. So if you can do a 10 mile or 16 kilometer run at around that pace, that will definitely give you a good indication that you're in 259 shape. So wish you all the best, John. Definitely keep us in the loop of how you're doing. You're definitely obviously in phenomenal shape if you're aiming for that type of time. So, hey, Habakkuk, good to see you again, man. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. Coach, what's your take on the Olympic marathon trials? Yeah. Can Connor pull a master class against Kiptum at Paris, given that they're friends? Connor and Clayton are phenomenal athletes, but they're going to have to step up their game if they think they can outrun Kiptum. And no disrespect to either one of those guys. They're 207, 208 guys in their own, 208 flat guys. In Clayton's case, Kiptum is on another planet or on another realm. Something he is. But I think, like I said, considering that the temps were decent but still warm, it was warm conditions to run that quick. It was a relatively flat course from what I saw. I thought it was an awesome performance but like I said, on the men and the women's side. And again, the way Zach Panning ran that race, I know he finished fifth in like 210, and then CJ Albertson finished. I think he was finished fifth in 210 as well. I know he was real disappointed, but yeah, it was a great story to see how those athletes performed. And I figured that would be a minimum to make the team. You'd need to be well under 210. And for all those guys running 209 range, it's just great. But Kiptum, on the other hand, yeah, like I said, I mean, I think he's going after, I don't know which one he's going after. I think it's Rotterdam that he's running. And then Kipchoge's running Tokyo. And I think from what I heard, he's going after a world record in Tokyo, and then Kiptum's running Rotterdam. So Rotterdam's below sea level. In terms of those guys, I think they're definitely capable of 205, 206 range, 207 for sure. Mance has already run it. So 205, 206 is definitely not impossible for those guys, but they're going to have to break 2 hours if they're going to beat Kiptum. I could be wrong though, but I think that's, Hagos, correction coach. I did sim in 259. Okay, awesome job. Yeah, that's what I would do, Hagos. I would do LA. LA, I would do as your last long run and aim for 3-hour marathon pace for just as a workout. Don't try to run 255 at LA. It's much more hillier. As does Boston, but Boston's a better opportunity, even though it's net downhill. It's a lot of uphills and a lot of flat sections and some downhills for sure too. I would go for that 255 at Boston. And congrats to you for running 259 at Sim. I've run Sim. I understand it is not an easy course. It is not an easy course. Yeah. A lot of ups, a lot of rolling hills, some downhills for sure, a lot of flat sections, but mostly rolling hills out there. Hey, Tyler, I strained my calf a few weeks ago, 4 weeks out from, man, my bad. See, my calf feels good when running slow, but anything close to 7 seems to make my calf tense up. Should I only run easy? Tyler, I would run easy, but also get a pair of calf sleeves, compression sleeves for your calf, especially the one that's really tight. That'll help stop the friction of and minimize movement of that muscle when you're running. But yeah, I would definitely run easy. Let's see. Yeah, I would run easy for at least, run easy for a week. No faster efforts until it eases up. Hey, Danny, got it. Thanks. Also want to say thanks for your 250 program. I ran 251 at Sim, okay, but lost 4 to 5 minutes to a toilet break. I totally understand that. Still managing an 8-minute PR. Congratulations, Danny. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, 251 is flying. So respect to you. I wish people understood. I know, folks that are runners here realize how quick that is. 251 on any course is extremely competitive. So very well done. As far as the toilet break, I totally understand. It's at the 2011 Indianapolis Marathon. I had the same issue. I was running with the lead pack. It was a couple Kenyans, a couple of American guys. Had to jump in a porta john, and I ended up finishing 5th. So it is what it is. It happens sometimes. Eat your breakfast 3 hours rather than 2 hours before the start of your races. It's just a better move. Minimum 2 hours, preferably 3 hours, just to make sure that doesn't happen. Hey, Jeremy, advice for training for a fast 1 to 1.5 mile run 5 weeks out. Yeah, continue to do what you're doing. 1 VO2 max workout per week, 1 tempo run. And I do mention tempos and lactate threshold runs. They're slightly different. Tempo runs are slightly slower than lactate threshold runs. So do a mixture of tempo runs. You can run longer at a longer, it might be 20 minutes when you're first starting out, but you can branch that out to about an hour doing tempo runs. Anaerobic threshold runs are slightly faster. So mixtures, really focusing on your VO2 max, doing hill reps every other week, working on your leg speed and your form. Really work on not only those easy long runs, but faster long runs. Just stay consistent. You're already doing what it takes right now, but to run fast for 1 to a 1.5 mile run, speed. Focus on the speed. Focus on VO2 max workouts. Repeat 200s, repeat 3s, repeat 600s. Running it significantly faster than your goal race pace, and then do a 10-day taper going into that 1.5 mile run. Even for a 1.5 mile run, okay? Don't start dropping volume and intensity until you're, 10 days out, okay? But yeah, and good luck to you too. Stay calm, stay as relaxed as you can in training, especially when you're running at those faster paces. But wish you all the best in that 1.5 mile run. Hey, Jess, just did my first half marathon in 1:23. Awesome. With still a little left in the tank. Would my marathon goal of 250, 255 be too ambitious for end of May? Thanks for all your videos. Thanks for your support, Jess. I appreciate it. Based on that half marathon time, that's equivalent to around 255 marathon pace, or a 255 marathon. So I don't think your goal of 255 is too ambitious. 250, even 250, if you nail it on the right day, everything goes well, you go in rested, the possibility of you running 250 is still possible based on that 123 half. So I think you're doing good. An awesome job dropping that 123. That's very, very competitive. Hey, Lean, hope you're well. How much does an athlete weight affect their running times? If it's fat, obviously, if there's too much, if it's a great deal of fat, yeah, it can definitely affect quite a bit. If it's more muscle and you're just, muscle is if you're, if you're a bigger athlete, I mean, I've known a lot of very muscular, strong athletes that ran really fast times, and versus those really, really thin, very short athletes. So again, if you have a very high fat percentage, if it's like 15, 25%, it's going to drastically affect racing time. So just be patient with if it's somebody or yourself or whatever. Just stay focused on that consistent volume. The body will in terms of overall fitness, it'll know. You're going to know, even if you're if you're in great shape. And you're going to start losing that unwanted weight, and you're going to start running fast times. But yeah, definitely, if it's a higher percentage of body fat, you want to just continue to work on that. And again, volume and consistent work over time, that's going to melt the pounds off. So yeah. Hey, Julian, thanks, Nate. I would give Strasbourg sock a try. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I found that when I had it, that Strasbourg sock helps a ton in alleviating the pain that you're feeling with that plantar fasciitis for sure. And continue to ice. Warmth and ice, a mixture of both warm and ice helps. And then don't continue to run on it. It's not going to go away by doing that. And like I said, cross training and pull running, taking yourself off of getting that impact away from the overall impact on the bottom of your foot will help a ton. Hey, Levy, I'm coming back from a sprained ankle and can finally run 60 minutes pain-free. Awesome to hear. Great to hear. How do I safely ramp up my mileage back up? I averaged 40 miles a week last year, but haven't run very much the last 7 weeks. Yeah, but just, I don't have an exact answer for you there. I mean, I would start off seeing how you feel, 10 to 15 miles a week. Start off very conservative and gradually over time, about 10%, 10 to 15% each week. Again, it's going to vary at some athletes. You hear don't ever ramp up more than 10% each week, but it varies. But I would start off very, very conservative, see how your ankle's feeling. Even if you're just running low mileage, if you have the urge of, I want to do some speed work, do some strides, but don't do many 3 to 4 50-meter strides during your 10 to 15 miles, and then gradually build it back up to that 45 miles a week that you were doing. So, and just be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself on it. You're doing great, but sprained ankles, any type of injuries, it definitely takes time. So, but I wish you health, man. I hope everything goes well in the coming weeks. Hey, Louie, I ran 3:24 at Chicago last year. Congrats. Awesome time. For my first marathon using your training plan. That is awesome. I plan on doing the Chicago Marathon again this year in October. Do you think I should try it? Absolutely. Why not? Chicago is one of the fastest courses in the world. Hopefully, you land a cool day. I know Chicago can be up and down some years it can be extremely hot. And then other years it's perfect. So I think that going back to Chicago is awesome. Yeah, for sure. And if you don't want to travel very, very far, there's so many of these other world-class great races, major races, Tokyo, Berlin, Valencia, all these other marathons further away. Chicago's a great place for sure. And congratulations, 3:24 is outstanding. That's awesome to hear too. Let's see, Louis, and run a marathon before that. I'm trying to run sub 3. Yeah, sub 3 is still in your future for sure. If you can drop 3:24 in your debut marathon, going, and I've seen other athletes do this. Though, I coached a guy that had a PR of 3:46 when he started working with me, who ran 2:58. And he had 5 kids. He could not believe that he broke 3 hours. He never dreamed. He told me, he said, I never dreamed I would be able to do that. So that's just an example, to go from 346 all the way down to 258. That is a massive drop, but you can do that in the marathon. Much more difficult to do that type of drop in like a half, or you can still drop several minutes and a half, but like a 10K, 5K, it gets even harder, obviously, the shorter the race. So, but yeah, great job, Louis. Keep up the great work. Hey, Sean, thanks, mate, on the sub 3. I did a 4-mile warm-up, 1 kilometers at 6:15 mile pace with a 3-minute float. With the 3-minute float at 7:20 in between each, and pretty good. Gave me confidence sub 3 as possible. Yeah, Sean, that's that type of workout. If you can, yeah, you're in that 6:15 mile pace for your hard intervals, and you run 7:20 mile pace for your floats. Yeah, you're in great shape. You're definitely in the type of shape I would expect an athlete to be if they want to break 3 hours. That's the type of workout you need to be doing. And again, this is what I always tell athletes. You got to train down. He's saying here 6:15 mile pace. You got to train at those types of paces to get 6:52 pace to feel easier, and for you to be able to sustain that pace longer. So if you're doing, 90% of your mileage at like 8-minute mile pace, it's going to be very hard to run 26.2 miles at 6:52. You're going to have a huge endurance boost from that running 8-minute mile pace for long periods of time. You're going to be very fit endurance wise, but running, you have to do that 6:15 and a float at 7:20, just slightly slower than sub 3 marathon pace. That type of work is going to really get sub 3 hour marathon pace to feel easier. Yeah, you're getting there, Sean, for sure. Hey, Mike, watched a previous video of yours where you mentioned working on 1600-meter repeats when aiming to break 120. How often should I get that type of workout into my block? I would start doing repeat 1600s, even at threshold effort, maybe 2 to 3 weeks into a buildup. If it's like a 16-week buildup or a 24-week buildup, again, I always talk about the longer buildup is better. Training for a 120 half, which is extremely competitive for a half marathon. You can start off doing repeat 1600s at threshold effort and then work your way down as you get fitter into VO2 max type effort. Maybe not VO2 max, but slightly faster than lactate threshold effort, but not quite at VO2. I mean, if you're training at VO2 max, it's going to be at 1600. You can still do repeats at that effort, but down like 200 meter, 400, 600s, thousands at 1600 meter, probably at the longest. Doing it every week or every other week, and then obviously sprinkle in some hill repetitions in there as well. But yeah, keep me in the loop in terms of how you do on that breaking that 120. The fact that you're asking that type of question knows I already know you're going to do it. You're thinking like what are the types? What are the specific types of workouts I need to be thinking about and think about doing in terms of intensity? That's the right types of questions to be asking. So, Habakkuk, how much fitness I'm possibly going to lose after finishing my 4 months out with my knee injury? I will be able to work on new personal best on my half marathon. Yeah, you'll still be able to get a new personal best in the half marathon. I mean, the key thing is, and I've had knee surgeries, I've had knee injuries, patellar tendonitis. They had to go in twice on my left knee and once on my right knee to take out cartilage, orthoscopic knee surgery. So I've had knee injuries and knee issues over the years. Main thing is just enjoy the downtime the best you can. I know it's hard to not be out there training, but enjoy that downtime because you will be able to get back out there. There's always going to be another race and another workout to do. And yes, you will definitely get back to that type of fitness where you're going to set a new personal best over the half marathon. It will come back. Key thing is stay as positive as you can and be patient because, I know how hard it is to have an injury. And then especially if you were very fit and you were very consistent with your mileage, and ready to race and something like that happened, it's hard to sit back and rest, but you will be back out on the track and you will be challenging yourself and you'll so enjoy some time away and you'll be back at it. I think the hardest thing too is just at the start when you're out of shape or when you first starting out with a buildup, it's just hard to get back out there and and putting in consistent mileage. But again, it gets easier. The body always adapts. It always adapts. It just adapts on its time, not with us rushing the fitness. I mean, if you're doing proper training and you're stressing the energy systems properly and you're jogging and allowing sufficient time for the body to adapt, you're going to start seeing some great results and you'll get back into that race shape with back kick. So you're going to be okay. Hey, Jess, thanks for the encouragement, coach. Another question: how important is the mental aspect of racing? It's absolutely critical. Any distance, and how can you work to improve mental fitness for prep for an A race effort? One of the things, if you guys and gals here that are on the stream, look into the there's a YouTube video of Billy Mills. He won the 10,000 meter at I think it was the 64 Tokyo Games. He talks about in his video. I'll leave that video below this live stream so you guys can watch it after this ends. But he talks about how he was visualizing himself winning the gold medal over and over and over again, several weeks, several months, several years going into the Tokyo Games, and seeing himself running 20. He wanted to run 28:25. His time wasn't even close. I mean, he was still one of our top athletes going into Tokyo. But his PR, I think at the time, was around 29:20 or 29:30. He ended up running 28:24 on a cinder track and winning the gold medal. And he talks about the importance of mental training. So I'll leave that. That's a very important video to see and review and watch over and over again. I've always talked about how important mental rehearsal is. You have to make sure that before any of these goals that we have occur in reality, it has to start here. You know, when I was a 2:43 marathoner, I always saw myself breaking 2:22, but that's a big chunk of time. And it's a massive drop to go from 2:43 to 2:21:59. But I continue to visualize that, continue to see myself getting across the finish line with 2:21:59, even when I was running a 2:43. So, you know, it doesn't take a lot of time, just 10, 15 minutes a day, either when you first wake up in the morning or for when you go to bed at night. Just spend a few minutes seeing yourself performing at a high level and seeing yourself achieving what you want. But stay consistent. Do it daily, every single day. Okay. Not only just visualizing it, writing down your goals and actually, you know, training the mind to do something that you want to do. Obviously, physical, you can't just be, you know, rehearsing and seeing yourself running a fast time and not doing the physical work. You have to combine that, the physical training as well as mental training. So I hope that's helpful. You combine both of those together. All the best runners I've trained with, they combine physical and mental training together. That's what helps them make those massive jumps in their preparation and in their racing. If you're just doing physical training, you're only doing 50% of the work. That's my opinion of it. I know some other athletes think differently about that. They're like, that mental training stuff, I need to put in the physical work. Yes, you have to do the physical training, but you combine both of those, and you're going to be absolutely dangerous. I fear for your competition that goes after you if you're doing both of those. I hope that answers your question. Hey, Sean, I get all my tips from your vids. Mate, love your channel. Thanks for your support, Sean. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much. It is a lot of work, but I absolutely love, just hearing from you all as well. It's not just making the videos. It's, hearing the comments you guys leave, hearing the success stories, hearing the frustrations. Because I mean, I've lived it my last 30 plus years. I started running when I was 15. I'm 47 now. So I know how tough it is, especially when you're just getting back into race shape and you're trying to get back into it, and you're trying to, you look down at your splits and your splits aren't quite where you want them. But, my advice is, trust me, and I'm seeing it now even with my own training, it just gradually the splits get faster and faster and faster. Your heart rate's at a lower heart rate and your splits are so much faster when you get fitter. But it's that consistent work. If you're not willing to put in that consistent work over a long period of time, you're not going to see the improvements. But just stay positive with what you're doing and you're going to be fine. You're going to start seeing some great results. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys, but just stay consistent. You'll start seeing those big jumps for sure. Yeah, my pleasure, Mike. I appreciate the support, man. Super Treo, hey, Run Dream, about your question earlier of goal time. I'm just trying to beat my PR of 4 hours, 1 minute marathon time for 2019. I feel like I can do it now, doing 15 milers at 8-minute pace and 22. Yes, you can definitely. Because that's sub 4 hour marathon. It's 9:09 mile pace. So if you're doing 15 milers at 8-minute pace, which is that's the proper type of intensity you need to be thinking about, and you're doing 22 milers easy at 9-minute mile pace, that's under 4-hour marathon pace. So you're definitely on your way to running well below 4 hours. Probably 340s, in my opinion, based on those types of workouts. 340s, 350, low 350s. Again, just make sure that, I mentioned this in the last live stream, run the tangents in the race. Don't run any further than you need to in the race. Let your competition run further than they need to. It's not just to disrespect the athletes, but again, it's working smart. It's thinking outside the box. It's not just the physical training. It's what are the other things that the world's top runners do? What do athletes that are breaking 3 hours, that are breaking 240, that are breaking 230, 220, 210? What are they doing? What are the little things that'll make the big differences in the end? I'm running the tangents. If there's a right turn coming up, get to the far right of the road. Don't run in the middle lane or run to the far left of the road where you're running further distance. Run and strategize, run race. Every turn that comes up, make sure you're on the side of the road where the turn's coming up. Again, it's less distance. It's a small detail, but it can make a massive difference in the end. So, and good luck to you. I think, Trevo, that you're in the type of fitness now where you're going to absolutely crush 4 hours in 1 minute. Absolutely blow that away. Eat your breakfast 3 hours before the start of the race. Aim to run a negative split. I'd aim no faster than 2:01 through the half, and then try to run a very strong negative split. And you may feel like you're absolutely jogging and go out in 157 or 158. If you're feeling phenomenal, continue on with it, but you could still go out 2 flat, 2:01, come back with like a 151 or 152 and run well below under 4 hours. And that's the goal, breaking 4 hours. So just be mindful of that. If the goal is to break 4 hours, you don't need to go out the first half or the first half of that race in 150. Because if the goal is to run 340, which is definitely doable, it may be doable, it may be the next step. But break that 4-hour barrier first, and you're on pace to do it already. So congrats. Stay with it, man. Hey, Daniel, I'm training for London in April. I've done an 8-week base building phase, that's good to hear. Solid. And I've just started to mix in some speed. I did 5 1 mile with 400 floats at 7:15 per mile at 8:30 float. Yeah, that is great. Running 50 miles per week. Current PB is 3:54. Is 3:30 possible? Yeah, I get a lot of questions about is this possible or is that possible? I never place limits on other athletes. I never placed them on myself, so I don't place them on you or any other athlete. So to do that based on the types of workouts you're doing, 3:30 marathon pace, that's 8-minute mile pace. If I'm right, I think it's 8-minute mile pace. So doing those types of workouts where you're running 7:15 mile pace, which is significantly faster than 3:30. And then your float is just slightly slower than 3:30 marathon pace. So I like that too. And that's the key. You want to work to a point where you're running at faster paces, but your recovery is much less. In the very early buildup, it's very hard to run at fast paces without giving yourself a lot more rest, and your pace, your splits are much slower and you need more rest in the beginning. But you're getting to a point now, doing that type of workout, a 7:15 mile pace for your 5 1 mile reps, and then giving yourself, and you're running a 400 meter float at 8:30 pace, which is slightly slower than 3:30. You're on your way. I think it's possible for sure. If again, you look at the other things that go into setting that PR and dropping that significant time, run the tangents like I mentioned, negative split, hydrate well, practice drinking more and taking in more calories in your long runs. Don't sip in the race. Don't think you're going to run 26.2 miles, 42.2K without drinking a sufficient amount of fluid in the race. So yeah, my pleasure, Daniel. Those are just some of the things. Stay relaxed. Any type of muscular tension or mental tension you're feeling, tell yourself to relax, calm down. I'm in great shape. Whatever you have to tell yourself, just really take confidence in the hard work you're putting in. And those types of workouts you're doing there that you mentioned, that's indicative to me of somebody that's getting into the point where they can run under 330. It's a big jump to go from 354 to 330. It's definitely not going to be an easy step. It's not going to be easy, but you're on your way. That's the type of workouts you need to be doing. So yeah, my pleasure. Jess, you definitely answered the questions on mental fitness. Thank you. Sometimes it's so easy to let the doubt creep in when things get tough, but I will definitely put visualization in my training daily. Yeah, it's very, I think the brain is already wired for negativity. I mean, people get so hyped up in general about negative stuff. I mean, negative things that are outside of your control that don't matter. Do the best you can not to watch the news, any type of negative information or negative comments. It's just not worth your time. Focus on the things that you're in control of. You're in control of getting out the door every day. You're in the control of if you don't have somebody to push you to get out there and put in the work regardless. The athletes that really want to be great, they're going to put in the work regardless what the weather conditions are like, regardless if they have somebody to push them. I spent the majority of my career too training alone. A lot of times I was training. I had my own, I was self coached, and it came down to my why. What was I getting out the door to do? So figure out how badly you truly want success, and what it's going to take for you to achieve that success. And you guys and gals, you definitely have the drive and the motivation. The types of questions you're asking are they're elite level type questions. They're the types of questions that people that are seeking excellence, seeking success are going to ask. They want to get better. That's what I love, hearing, just interacting with you guys and gals too. I mean, it's awesome. So, hey, Kiwi, is doing a half marathon race 2 weeks before a marathon okay? I personally would not do a half marathon race 2 weeks before a marathon. No, too short. If it was 4 weeks out, I would. 2 weeks out, again, some athletes can do it, so don't say it's not possible. I still think for some athletes it is. But 2 weeks, 14 days out, I would do maybe a 5 mile tempo run or 5 mile effort at goal, 5 to 6 mile effort at goal marathon race pace 2 weeks out, rather than running a half marathon. So hopefully that's helpful. Something to consider. I want you to go in that marathon in peak shape and not tired. Again, half marathon race, maybe 4 to 5 weeks out, it would be okay. Even 3 weeks is kind of stretching it, but it's still doable. 2 weeks out, that's real close. I wouldn't do it. Hey, Mango, thanks for the support, Mango. I appreciate it. I know you guys don't have to do all that, but I like just talking with y'all. But thanks so much for that. Definitely means a lot. Habakkuk, do you still run marathons right now? I don't. I haven't ran a marathon. I'll be honest. I haven't ran a marathon in 10 years. It'll be 10 years, which is hard to believe. I ran 2:32 when I was 37 at the Sim Marathon. I ran my PR there when I was 31, 2:19 for fourth. And so it's been many years since I ran a marathon. And I choose not to say certain things or, openly state certain things. So I just feel like, it comes down to really you let your actions do the talking for you rather than saying, openly stating things. A lot of times I think, some athletes will say stuff and then either it doesn't happen or, for whatever reason they have a bad race or whatever. But yeah, it's been a long time since I ran a marathon, but I am training. I'll say that much. That's all I'll say, but I am training. Yes. I started running marathons in 2002, debuted at the New York City Marathon with a 2:43:36. The finish time, if you look up the results, it'll show 2:51, but the net time is 2:43 because I was running as a part of a charity for lung cancer research. I was a part of the Armed Forces charity team where we started in last place. So I was in 32,189th place, and we weren't allowed to start the race until every runner had crossed the start line. And for every runner that we passed, Chase Manhattan Bank was donating $1 to lung cancer research. So I started in 32,189th place, finished in 257th place, and went 2:43. So lost, starting off and debuting with that type of effort was very strange. I still remember the first mile was 16 minutes flat because there were just thousands of people I was trying to run around. But yeah, I'll say I am training. That's all I'll say. Mike, what kind of things would you recommend to do during the faster long run that you mentioned doing every other week? I think in terms of the faster, very paced long runs, it depends on your overall fitness. Obviously, if you're a few weeks into a buildup, I would do just maybe a couple miles. If it was like a 12-mile run you were doing, I would do maybe 2 miles of that 12-miler at maybe 5K race pace. But maybe if it was say it was a 10-miler, I would do the 5th mile at 5K mile race pace, and then the 10th mile. So those 2 miles in there. But as you get fitter, it may be like a 2-mile warm up, 5 miles at, say you're trying to break 3 hours to the marathon. It might be a 2-mile warm up, 5 miles or 8 kilometers or so at a 640 mile pace. Then a couple miles very easy. Then 2 miles at 6-minute mile pace, 3 miles easy. Then another 4 to 5 miles at 652 mile pace at goal marathon race pace. Again, for somebody to try to break 3 hours, it's that type of you're changing up your speed, obviously, but it's not just a steady. And then again, you can run just steady state long runs where you're running maybe it's like a 16 miler where you do 2 miles easy, 10 miles at, if again somebody is trying to break a 3-hour marathon, maybe a 2-mile warm up, 10 miles at 645 mile pace, so just slightly slower than goal race pace, about 15 seconds per mile slower, but still very, very aggressive running. And then running 2 miles easy, 1 mile at maybe 5K race pace, and then a 1-mile cool down. So again, it just depends on the overall fitness level of the athlete, how far into the buildup you are, but just mixing it up. Sometimes you can just do a long run where you're, I've run, especially out in Colorado, there were plenty of long runs I did where there were light poles. They were just endless, just for several miles. And I would sprint for one, jog for one, run moderate for one, sprint for another one, and then just do that for like 10 to 15 miles. And so again, and then obviously the next week would always be just relaxed, chill, 8-minute mile pace, real easy running. If you're trying to break, if you're an athlete that can hold 5:19 mile pace, running at 8-minute mile pace is very, very relaxed running. So it is just to keep those things in mind in terms of what your question there, Mike. I hope that answers your question. I know it's just changing up tactics and changing up the paces in the race or in your long run. That'll definitely, over long term, your body will adapt to it, but it's going to be very, very hard in the early stages. So start off much shorter long runs in terms of duration, and then gradually longer durations at faster paces, and just sprinkling in different intensities throughout the run will definitely help you make significant jumps. I've seen other athletes really drop significant time, like that guy I talked about before. He had a 346 PR, he ran 258. It's a massive jump, but you can do that in the marathon. So let's see here. Hey, Mango, following your 20-week plan for marathon going into week 8. Awesome. Mango, hang in there, man. I know some of those workouts are going to be very challenging. I know how others are built, but just stay consistent. You'll continue to do great, man. Keep me in the loop. For your plan, I have 3 by 2 mile on track, but it doesn't specify rest. Oh, okay. The 2 mile, I would do between 5 and 6 minutes of recovery between each one of those repeat 2s. Yeah. And if you're wearing a heart rate monitor, wait till your heart rate gets back down under 120 before you start the next interval. But those 2 mile reps, that's a very long, hard workout. That's the same exact workout I did over the years. Won't say that, but I throughout my career, pretty much when I started running marathons, even up to now, that 3 times 2 mile rep workout is the one I did. And again, more rest at the beginning, slower intensities. Further you get along, it's going to be faster reps, much less rest. But yeah, I would go between 5 and 7 minutes. Between 5 and 6, you should be okay. Hey, Andrew, I have my marathon coming up in April, and on Thursday I did 7-mile tempo at 6:24 mile pace. All right, Andrew, you are in great shape. That's awesome. It was hard, but I wasn't dying. Do you think I'm on track for a sub 3? Yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's again 7 miles and 26 miles, totally light years difference there, but sub 3 pace is 6:52 mile pace. So doing 7 miles and holding 6:24 mile pace is the types of fitness you have to be in order to break 3 hours. So I think you're on your way to doing it for sure. Continue to build, really build your long runs, stay consistent with your speed sessions each week, jog on recovery days. But 7 miles at 6:24 mile pace, that's the type of workout I would expect of somebody trying to go sub 3. You have to do that. You have to get 6:52 pace to feel easier. And it's not going to happen by running 7:30 to 8-minute mile pace. It's just not going to happen. You're still going to build good fitness by doing those runs at those intensities, but you have to get down there 6 flat, 6:20 pace, running under 6-minute mile pace for your repetitions. If you're doing repeat miles, getting down 530, 540 reps, doing 200 to 300 meter reps at around 5 flat pace. Okay. It's much, much faster than sub 3. But again, it's because it's so short. You can do 200 to 300 meter reps at 5-minute mile pace. Because again, it's so short, but even that short amount of time doing those reps over several weeks, 16, 20, 24 weeks, that is really going to set you up for success. Going to get that pace to feel easier. So yeah, I think you're on the right path for sure. Hey, Dylan, very, very paced long runs have been such a game changer in my training. Last year, I ran my first marathon at 3:44. Congrats. Awesome. And hoping to crush that. Thanks for all the good advice and support, Coach. Yeah, my pleasure, Dylan. And congrats to you for running 3:44. Very, very competitive time. Yeah, definitely no shame in that time. I think, like I mentioned, it's just that consistent work, man, putting it in and doing the little details that in the long run will pay dividends, don't run further than you need to run in the race. Stay relaxed, run a negative split, visualize success, visualize what you want to do well in advance. Yeah, you're on it. Keep me posted too, Dylan, on how your race goes in your next race. That's awesome that you ran your first marathon at 3:44. Congrats. Hey, Lucio, do you it is useful to run easy long runs 20 on rolling hills during marathon? Absolutely. Seeing lots of faster runners from my local club doing that every other week. Yeah, if you're doing especially 25 to 30K over hills at an easy pace, that's different. If you did 25 and 30K easy, it's still a great, phenomenal, great workout, still going to build an enormous amount of strength. But doing it over hills, that's different. So I think that's a good plan of doing that. The longest run I ever did preparing for the 2011 Monumental Indianapolis Marathon was a 30-miler, and I did it was nothing but hills. It was just over, and that's the furthest I've ever ran. I only ran 30 miles once. Most of my long runs were anywhere from 18 miles to around 23 to 24 miles, but I did a 30-mile at one time. That type of even at easy pace is a great. You have to do that. Definitely get in the habit of doing that, and doing that every other week is key. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think your teammates there that you're training with, that club, they're doing the right thing. Yeah, my pleasure, Andrew. I feel like training on the manual treadmill has been helping with my leg turnover. Yeah, there's no shame with, a lot of people say, training on the treadmill is somewhere, somewhat like you're running less than if you're running outdoors. I don't believe that. I've trained so many years on the treadmill. The key thing is getting the workout in, and there's times where you're going to need to jump on a treadmill. If it's like 110 degrees out or 100 degrees or whatever, if you're living in Texas like I did in San Antonio, I mean, there's just some times where you need to get on the treadmill and get in a quality workout versus, nothing beats running outdoors, period. I mean, if you have the option to run outdoors versus indoors, for most athletes, it's outdoors. But world-class athletes train on the treadmills. It's no shame. So you're continued success to you, man. I'm glad to hear that you're getting some increased leg turnover from doing that. Mike, what are the disadvantages of training on the treadmill as opposed to outside? Yeah, we're just talking about this. Well, I mean, on the treadmill too, there is no wind resistance indoors versus outdoors. That's one. But again, you can equal, if you get on a 1% incline, you're going to equal to running outdoors. Even at a 0.5% incline, just a slight incline, you're still going to get it's going to equal close to running outdoors. There's disadvantages and advantages to both. But I think as far as the disadvantages, I mean, it's a lot of times you feel restricted, and it's nice with a treadmill where you can at least just dial in the pace and say, hey, I want to run 7-minute mile pace, and just lock in right on it or around or close to it. And versus if you're outdoors. But yeah, the disadvantages, I just think it's a lot of times you don't feel, some athletes, not me, but some athletes feel like you're doing less work if you're training indoors on a treadmill versus outdoors. I don't believe that. Again, world-class runners, track and field athletes, world-class, national class type athletes, they're out there doing both, so it doesn't hurt. Yeah, my pleasure, Dylan and Lucio. I'm glad. Hopefully I answer your questions. Sean, last week did a double threshold 10 miles, and 6 hours later, further 10 miles. Do you think that's a bit extreme, mate? Love these double day, good way getting mileage in when life is busy. Yeah, I mean, double threshold training, and I have a couple videos I made on this channel about that. And I think if you're in great shape, you've built a strong aerobic base, that doing double threshold training is a great way to not only get your volume in, especially if you're working full time, or if you are running, say, like 3 or 4 days a week, and you want to get up to like 50 to 60 miles a week or so. It's going to be much more. It's harder to do that off of less days. Obviously, it's much easier to do it if you run 6 to 7 days a week. But if you're doing those double workouts, you can get the volume in. But obviously, also you're going to get a massive physiological boost by doing double threshold training. A lot of world-class runners, national class athletes, they implement that type of training into their routine. So I would advise doing it, every other week, not doing it every week. Some athletes can't do it every week. Just depends on the maturity athlete and how fit they are. But yeah, that's awesome, Sean. I hope it continues to produce results for you. Sure. Habakkuk, my friend, is considering to take PEDs to run fast marathon and then gain sponsorship. Oh my goodness. I thought treadmill is like flat course. Yeah, treadmill is like, yeah, it's like flat course for sure. If you're not running on any incline, and tell your friend, I mean, it's not worth it. Again, I'm sure your friend, I think, Habakkuk, you're from Uganda, right? If I remember from our last stream, you guys are some of the best athletes in the world, and you don't need performance enhancing drugs. I'm not saying your friend doesn't need them. Yeah, and the money, I agree with that. The money isn't worth the risk of that. Talk to him or her and tell them it's look back, 20, 30 years from now, and you'll have zero regret that you did it all on your own. What the good Lord above gave him or her to race, let that be enough. It's not worth the money. There's not a ton of money in world-class racing anyways. There's a lot of money, but if you look at the NFL or you look at the NHL or all these major sports teams, there's not a lot of money in running. Unless you can break, unless you really can be minimum under 207, 206 range, especially, I mean, if you're under 210, it's still world class in my opinion. I think really world class. Everybody's got a different viewpoint of what world class is, but I think anybody athlete can really get under 214 and below, in my opinion, is world class. Other athletes think 203, 202 is world class. Of course, that's the top end echelon of world class for sure. But yeah, I hope your friend doesn't hope he doesn't take the performance enhancing drugs. It is not worth it. Yeah. So all right, guys. Well, hey, thanks so much for stopping on. Hopefully some of your questions that you had were answered, and great to hear from you all. I hope you all have a great week coming up. Continue to stay focused and endure those hard times when you're not, you don't have somebody to push you, and you're questioning if what you're doing is the right thing, or if you're still in the great shape or in the type of shape that you envision. Just stay focused with what you're doing, and I wish you guys success in this upcoming week. And I'll jump back on here next week on, if everything, Lord willing, I'll come back here on Sunday next week around 4:00. And I appreciate you too, Jess. Appreciate all of you that take the time to jump on. And like I said, I'm just one voice of millions here. So hopefully that some of your questions are answered. And yeah, we'll jump back on here next week, and yeah, and wish you all the best in a great week of training, and not only training but on and off the roads and on off the track. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you all next week. Take care.